When working with students in a paper workbook, it is important to address the spatial aspect of handwriting and also the motor memory of the handwriting. Two ways to do that. One is with the motor memory is to have the students write with their eyes closed. So they write the word one time with their eyes open, and then they get their pencil in place and they write with their eyes closed. Writing with the eyes closed helps you as the instructor know if they actually know how to form the letter or if they're constantly relying on the visual picture to form the letter. The second aspect of spacing is to really make spacing concrete by starring or putting a dot or some type of a visual marking to let the students know where the next letter should start. You can also use the wording, start the letters right next to each other. So in the word cop, I'm going to talk about how close the starting points are for those letters. Then I will come over and I'll do the dot for the student for the first letter. They'll write that first letter. I'll put a second dot for the second letter. They'll write the second letter. And I'll do a third dot for the third letter, the P. And we will talk about how close those dots are to each other. And then we'll go down the page and do that for each word. Then I'll have the students eventually make their own dots to see, and we'll kind of analyze how close together the dots are. When teaching in the handwriting workbook, it's important to talk about writing without the midline. So we're still addressing the spacing as far as how close together the letters should be, but we're also starting to talk about the height of the letters. And we do this without the midline. So the student writes the word with the midline, and then they write it without the midline, and we compare the height of the certain letters. And they can do these with spelling words or words from a reading assignment. So again, we want to star the first letter, and then if you're still working on spacing within the word, put a visual mark where they should be starting the letter to keep the letters close together within the word. And then you also want to introduce how tall the letters should be. And we can do this on the review pages that are within the paper workbook. And there are also review pages that deal with lines that are smaller, because students are going to be writing on paper that isn't always this height and also that does not have a midline. And so we do this with the college ruled line, where again, you can work on the spacing within the word by starring or putting a visual mark where the student should be starting the letter, and then also talking about the height of the letter and helping them see where to start the letter and what would be more of a college rule or even unlined paper. The last aspect of working in a paper workbook is making sure that for left-handed students, you're using a left-handed workbook. So therefore, they are not covering up what you're asking them to write if they were in a right-handed workbook. If I'm left-handed, I see the directions, I have the starting points, but I can visually see what I'm to be writing to my right-hand side.